Ginger can add a kick of natural spice to any meal, which is why it's perfect for today's dish, my Kickin Kung Pao Noodles with chicken or tofu. I'm Chef Heidi Fink, and that's what we're cooking on the coast. Kung Pao, fun to say, even more fun to eat. Today we're making a Chinese-inspired noodle dish called Kung Pao that's flexitarian friendly. You can have it with either chicken or with tofu. Let's get started. The first thing we're gonna do is roast some tofu. So, like I said, you can make this dish with either roasted tofu or with chicken breast or probably any other protein that you want. I'm gonna show you a trick on how to make the tofu easy to use and not fall apart when you're trying to stir fry it. So I've got some medium firm tofu here. I'm gonna cut it into 3 crosswise, and then we're gonna cut it lengthwise into 4, and then widthwise here into maybe 5 or 6, depending. How about we do it like that? All right, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a tray. Now the thing I notice about tofu that people really struggle with is that it really likes to stick to the pan and maybe even crumble apart when you're trying to cook with it. And so one of the ways that people get around this is by using firm and extra firm and pressed tofu, but those don't taste very good and they're kind of mealy and sometimes bitter. So a more soft tofu has a nicer texture. So one of the ways to use them in a stir fry is to pre-cook them. So there's a lot of different ways of pre-cooking them. I find the easiest is just to roast it in the oven. So I've got a little bit of sesame oil on here. I'm gonna sprinkle some salt, and then I'm gonna use the edges of the parchment like that to toss the tofu around. And this is just, if you toss it in a bowl, it could crumble apart as well. So this just gently flips them. And then we're gonna spread them out. You want them spread in a thin layer with good air circulation around. And we're gonna put these in the oven. I put it in about a 375-degree oven for 15 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes, depending. You want them just to have a little light color and for the proteins to firm up. Here we go. That sesame oil smells so good. So I'm gonna check those in about 15 minutes and see what it's like. You could do it a little higher heat and on convection, in which case it might only take 10 minutes. So now we're gonna work on the sauce. So I'm gonna get this pot here and I'm gonna start loading some ingredients in here. So we're gonna start with half a cup of water. You could also use broth for this, chicken broth or veggie broth. Then the next thing we need are a couple of really important Chinese sauces. So we have hoisin sauce and we have oyster sauce. So I've got here 4 tablespoons of hoisin, and then I have 2 tablespoons of oyster sauce here. And then we're gonna put 2 teaspoons of toasted sesame oil in here, 2 teaspoons of brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of soy sauce. There we go. 1 tablespoon of sherry. So this is just your regular old dry sherry that you might have in your cupboard. And then we need a tablespoon of chili paste. So I'm using sriracha for this. And then the final ingredient we need is 2 teaspoons of cornstarch. So this just helps thicken the sauce. Okay, now we're gonna get a whisk. We're gonna just cook this. So we need to bring this to a boil. So I'm gonna whisk this so the cornstarch gets mixed in there really evenly. You don't wanna have cornstarch lumps. So the secret here is you're gonna bring it to a boil and you're gonna keep whisking it the whole time so that the cornstarch stays evenly suspended, and then it will thicken up nicely. Now it's not gonna get super, super thick. So there we go, it's come to a boil. Once the sauce comes to a boil, you wanna just simmer it for another minute, just to make sure that the cornstarch is cooked all the way through. This is smelling. I can just smell, like right now I'm smelling hoisin and a little bit of chili and that sherry. It just smells really delicious. This is one of my favorites. There we go. So we have this nicely thickened sauce. I'm just gonna leave that there. Now the next thing I'm gonna do is show you how I would prep the chicken if you were gonna do a chicken version of this recipe. I'm just gonna grab some chicken from the fridge. So here I have, so the full recipe, you would use a full pound of chicken. Right here I have half a pound of chicken. I've had this sitting in a mixture of a little bit of soy sauce and a little bit of sesame oil for about an hour. You could do that for even just 20 minutes. So we only need to partially cook the chicken because it's gonna finish cooking in the stir fry. So this I like to do first before I actually make the stir fry, so you have your partially cooked chicken already ready to go. And I like to do this, you can do this in the same pan you're gonna do the stir fry in. I often will do it in a separate pan because sometimes it likes to stick, which is, you know, makes us all sad. So you wanna get the pan really nice and hot. And you wanna make sure you get some oil in there. Okay, we're gonna put that in an even layer. Okay, you wanna get it a little bit crusty. Oh, wish me luck. There we go. Okay, so we're just gonna partially cook them, like I said, about halfway. One thing about chicken breast is that it gets dry very easily. So you wanna just make sure that you're not cooking this all the way and then cooking it in a stir fry. Okay, so we got a little bit of color on the chicken. Most of them have been touching the pan for a couple of minutes. Still a little raw on the inside, which is what we want. And then we've got our clean bowl. So remember not to put it back in the bowl that you had the marinated chicken in. Even though these still need to cook longer, there's no need to put them back in like a raw chicken bowl marinade. So we're gonna scrape it all into there. All right, there we go. So that's some beautiful half-cooked chicken ready to go in our stir fry. The tofu is gonna be about 5 minutes, and we've got our sauce made, so we're ready to make an amazing Kung Pao noodle stir fry, so stick around. We'll be back later in the show to finish it off. But next, we're on the road.
Cooking on the Road is brought to you by Whisk Victoria, the small but mighty kitchen gadget store for every home chef.
We're at the Victoria Public Market, and I'm here at Whisk, the kitchen gadget store, right up my alley. I'm super excited to check it out. Hi, you must be Ilan.
Hi Heidi, welcome to Whisk Victoria.
Thank you so much for having me. I love your store. How long have you been here?
The store's been here for almost 10 years now. It was one of the first stores that opened at the Victoria Public Market.
Okay, it was.
Yes, and I took over 3 years ago. I love kitchen gadgets, and I hope it kind of shows with the stuff that I have.
I was gonna say, I absolutely love this gadget wall, and I love how you have it on a pegboard a la Julia Child.
Yes, the original owner, Marion, was inspired by Julia Child. So when she opened the store, she paid homage to the great chef.
So one of the things I saw that caught my eye was this fish flipper. I bought one of these for the first time this year. They're amazing. I love how thin and flexible they are, and they've got these holes that can just like drip out the excess fat if you're frying fish. Or
Exactly.
Yeah. And the other thing that caught my eye here is actually something I've never seen before. It's this butter blade.
It's a butter blade, yes. So the little holes in there, you drag that across a hard piece of butter, and it creates little shreds of butter so it melts easier on your toast.
Oh, so it doesn't like shred your toast with hard butter?
Not at all.
I love it. Ooh, look at all these whisks. You have some, okay, cool. You've got some of these flat whisks. Oh, I love these.
You can't have a store called Whisk without lots of whisks.
No, that's true. Do you have a pot? I just want to show, show everybody something. So check this out. So normally when you have a big flat whisk, it's hard to get in the corners of a pot, but look at this one. Look at how it flattens out like that. See that? So then when you press it in the pot, it gets right in the edges, right in the corners. And then this one, this is the kind that I have. It also does the same thing. It gets right in the corners like that, because you can see how flat it is. So this is just one of my favorite kitchen gadgets, and it's nice to know that you have multiple types. You have normal whisks, you have all these flat whisks.
Yep, and even a fork whisk.
And a fork whisk. I have my favorite measuring cups. These are these awesome ones. You know how you have to like normally measure like this? You gotta bend down. But these ones, you can just measure looking straight down, like that.
They are awesome for that.
Yeah. Is this what I think it is? Do you have matching aprons and oven mitts?
Yes, we've got a wide assortment of aprons,
Okay, I'm gonna try
oven
this one.
mitts,
I'm trying this
pot holders. You can be all fanciful and
my God.
matchy-matchy.
I have such a thing for aprons. You have to stop me before I walk out of the store with this. Look at this.
So the importance of prep is something I know that is near and dear to your heart.
Absolutely. My favorite thing about cooking, you have to make sure you get everything prepped and ready before you start cooking. It makes it smoother, better, a more enjoyable experience.
Cool. We have lots of little bowls to help you with that.
Yeah, I use these.
Yes.
I love these colorful ones, actually. That's something that's super nice. Like, you can get all the bowls set up. You have all different sizes. You know, like you could put garlic in this one. You could put onions or like chopped veggies in that one. This has been amazing. Honestly, I could come here and spend like 2 hours browsing around. This is like a really good thing to do. If you're a foodie or love to cook, just come here and spend some time looking around. You'll probably find something you love. Thank you so much. This was amazing.
Coming.
Thanks so much for
lovely
having me.
you. Thanks for popping in.
Anytime, I'll be back. Welcome back. We're picking up steam with our Kung Pao noodles. I've got tofu and chicken to use in our stir fry. Right now, I've got a pot of salted water going right here. It's gonna be ready for cooking our noodles, and I have a wide skillet for doing the stir fry. So I'm gonna be using, you've got options with the noodles. You could use really thick udon style or Shanghai style noodles, or you can use thinner chow mein style. It's whatever you like to use. I really like the thick style ones, so I'm gonna use these. These are fresh noodles, so they're only gonna take a few minutes to cook, so I'm gonna actually start them after I start the stir fry, so they're ready at the same time. So let's crank this pan. So again, with stir fry, you wanna remember that heat is your friend. You don't wanna have like a low heat pan. So I've got my tofu ready here. You get to see, I just pulled it out of the oven. It's very lightly golden brown and delicious, and it's ready to go in a stir fry. You can tell, like, when you touch it, it bounces back. So similar to any kind of cooked protein like that. And then I have a whole bunch of vegetables here. I have got some broccoli. I've got snap peas. I'm gonna move this chicken. I've got snap peas. I have got carrots. I've got red pepper. So you can see my ongoing theme of rainbow is happening again. We should have called this season the rainbow season. And I have a little bit of chopped garlic and ginger as well. So this pan is nice and hot. We're gonna put a couple tablespoons of oil in there. And we're gonna start with the carrots because they are a little hot, or a little harder than other vegetables. So we'll just give those a tiny bit of a head start. And then we're just gonna add all of our other vegetables to that pan. Okay, and some green onions. I don't know if I'm gonna use all of those. So I've cut the green onions fairly large. Oh yeah, and you definitely need to learn how to do that. I'm just kidding, you can use this wooden spoon. Okay, now let's get our noodles in. Ooh, it's getting stressful, it's getting hot in the kitchen here. Okay, got this boiling water. This is some fresh Shanghai noodles, also known as udon noodles. I'm just gonna let them soften for a second. I'm gonna just keep stirring that. So now what I'm doing, notice I haven't put the sauce in yet because we wanna give these vegetables a chance to actually like stir fry and char. Now I'm making a space here because now we're gonna put the garlic and ginger in. I didn't put them in earlier because they would have burnt. So you just put another tablespoon and you throw your garlic and ginger in there. And notice something very important. I had all the vegetables and garlic and ginger, the sauce made, everything, the protein done before I started the stir fry. And that's very important because it goes very quickly, as you see. You don't want to be like chopping garlic while you're trying to focus on this stir fry because you could run into some problems. All right, this looks good, this smells good. Now we are gonna add our sauce. So it might splash up. I have turned the heat down a little bit just so that it doesn't get really crazy. We're gonna use the whole thing of sauce. This all goes in there. Okay. Stir that up. Now we're gonna add our chicken. So if you were doing this with chicken, you would have a bit more than this, or your tofu, or in my case, I'm gonna do some of each. just so I don't get my hands greasy, I'm gonna do this. So I'm gonna do half tofu, half chicken. So the recipe calls for a pound of either, so I'm doing half a pound of each. Look at that. Okay, so we just need to simmer this long enough to finish cooking the chicken. You could put the chicken in a bit earlier if you're worried. So we're just gonna stir fry that like this. It should just cook nicely. My noodles are looking pretty good over here. They're finally going crazy. We're gonna turn this off. And I'm gonna grab my two rags and we're gonna dump that down the colander. I'm gonna give this a quick stir, just so it doesn't stick. This looks so good. This smells so good. Here we go. Okay, let's dump these noodles. Here we go. Okay, you wanna make sure to shake it dry. Do not rinse these noodles. I'm just gonna give the chicken just another 30 seconds to a minute to cook. All right, there we go. So I've just cranked the heat up for one last blast. Look at those colors. Okay, now we're gonna throw these noodles in here. Fresh noodles, and probably tongs will be your best friend for this particular situation. So again, you could do this, you could serve that stir fry like I just had it before I added the noodles. You could serve that with rice. You can serve it with a different type of noodle, like a Shanghai noodle. You can put the noodles and the stir fry on the table and people can decide how much. I like to mix it right with the noodles because then the noodles can really absorb flavors from the sauce and help thicken it up. This looks so good. This is one of my all-time favorite weeknight dinners, honestly. And there's usually leftovers for me to have for lunch the next day. So it looks beautiful and colorful. And it's done. So all we have to do now is plate it and throw a whole bunch of peanuts on it. You don't want to miss out on the peanuts. It's one of the most important aspects of the dish. If you're allergic to peanuts, you can use roasted cashews instead. All right, let's grab a couple of bowls. So you want to make sure that everybody has some noodles. Oh. There we go. And then you want to make sure that everybody's got some vegetables, some protein. In this case, there's tofu and chicken, so you want to make sure that they've got some of each. Now, I don't know how hungry people are, but let's go there. Let's swap this one around. Right now, all I can smell is hoisin, sesame, ginger, garlic, super yummy, yummy everything. Chicken, tofu. This one needs carrots. You gotta make sure that they get some of every color on there, that's for sure. That's what I like. And these snow peas. You can also use whatever vegetables you like, as long as you don't go over the, the 4-cup amount that I mentioned. Okay, now peanuts. Now you can put peanuts right in the stir fry. That's often really common. Often the peanuts are stir fried in the oil part. I just like to throw them on the top. There we go. So you get a little like nutty, rich crunch with every bite. And there you have it. That's it. Chinese inspired Kung Pao noodles with chicken or with tofu. Enjoy.
Pairings are brought to you by Liquor Plus. Discover the plus.
So this Kung Pao kicks you in the face with spice, garlic, big flavors. So what's gonna pair with it? With us is Chris Smith from Joie Farm Winery. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Heidi.
What do you have for us? What did you bring?
Well, this is a challenging pairing, I think, because like you said, this is a big dish with tons of flavor. And Asian foods can be like that.
Yeah.
Lots of spice and heat and all sorts of things. So we're gonna pick a big, bright, crisp, delicious, lost myself in this wine.
Fine.
Called the Noble Blend.
The Noble Blend. Okay,
Yeah.
so a big wine with big flavors.
A lot of people are gonna know this wine. Joie's been around for about 20 years and this is their flagship wine.
Okay.
Noble Blend is a reference to the Alsace region. They make this wine from Gewürztraminer, Riesling, Pinot Auxerrois.
Okay.
They're all bright, crisp, refreshing grapes and a little touch of muscat in there too.
Right.
So you need a little sweetness when you have heat like this.
Yeah. Definitely those are the type of wines that often I find paired with Asian food or East Asian food.
Yeah, you gotta have something to kind of pick up on that heat and not fight with it too much. So hopefully this is gonna be something that pairs well.
Okay, let's try it. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah. I can see why this is your flagship wine. This is really good.
It's a popular wine.
Yeah, yeah. All right, are you ready to try it with some Kung Pao?
Let's go.
It's not that spicy. I like to pretend, but yeah, I guess I got it noodle. Already. A little kick. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's really good. Yeah.
That is really, it tastes like more.
It does taste like more. I find, yeah, because it's a little bit bright and acidic, like you said, and these are kind of richer, darker, and a little sweet, a little spicy, so it kind of goes well. What do you think?
Oh, I agree. It's always tricky because when you think about Asian cuisine, it didn't really grow up with wine, the way that Italian food grew up with wine or French food grew up with wine. So we're kind of bringing something new to this style of food, and it's always a little bit of a challenge. But this, I think, worked out pretty well.
I agree. Well done.
Phew.
Yeah, Chris, I can't help noticing you brought cans of wine. That is not something I've ever seen before.
It's a fairly new packaging option, and Joa's kind of been trailblazing that a little bit. I really thought it would be great with this food in particular because when I think of this type of food, like Kung Pao chicken, this is also a very common takeaway.
Right, yeah.
So you might make this at home and then have leftovers and want to go, to the beach or camping or pack some in your lunch, take it to the office. And it's awkward to show up at work with a bottle.
With a bottle of wine.
but you could stick a can in your backpack and have a little glass of wine with your lunch. And the thing about a can, it keeps the wine just as fresh as a bottle. It's an unconventional thing for people's minds.
Yeah.
But if you taste the wine in a can against the wine in the bottle, you won't tell the difference.
Okay, perfect. Kung Pao to go with the can of wine. I'm down. On that note, I need to try another bite of this food.
Yeah, too much talking, I'm not eating.
That's shocking. Not eating. Well, that's certainly a very delicious pairing with this meal. It brightens it up. It kind of like parties in your mouth the same way the Kung Pao does. It's a great pairing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you're welcome. We appreciate it very much. Show us your take on this meal. Take a photo, upload it to social media, and tag us at Chef Heidi Fink or at CHEK Media. I'm Chef Heidi Fink. The more you learn, the better it tastes. I don't know why, but I have such a thing for peanuts.
The tofu is so good. It's a real surprise to me is how firm and I actually almost can't tell the difference between chicken and tofu. It's very, very well done.
Thank you. I showed a special trick on how to cook it properly. You can get the recipe on that when the show comes out.
Well, that's a good trick to know because I am terrible at tofu.